Hello and welcome back to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Happy Friday to everyone. I'm your host, Manny Maradiege. I got another good set of story for you guys here today. Episode before the weekend. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of comments and a lot of actions in free agency that I thought were interesting. Starting with the chip shot story of the day. I modified it a little bit to just focus in on one story that I could talk about to kick off the show instead of trying to fit two and rush through them. I'm just going to focus in on one, but still around the theme of off the field comments, actions away from games and stuff that I found interesting. So we're going to start with that surrounding Antonio Pierce and some comments that he made about Patrick Mahomes. The next story will be Terry Bradshaw giving his 2 cents on what he thought about the whole Steelers quarterback situation and sticking up for Kenny Pickett on the Rich Eisen show when he was asked about it. Then later in the show, I'll get into Saquon Barkley and what his latest actions could mean to potentially predict his next free agent team. He's been active on social media, so I'll dig into that and kind of explain that whole scenario. Then I'll wrap it up with a most likely to scenario that I thought was pretty interesting, more likely to return to the playoffs this next season between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers. Two very fascinating teams in different spots right now in respect to their quarterbacks, coaches, organizations, the overall roster as a whole. In two different spots, but at the same time, I find them very similar in a lot of different aspects. So I'll break those down in the last part of the show. But before I jump into the chip shot segment of the episode, I would like to please remind you guys to like and follow the show. There's always a lot of questions that we see on various shows on the network. So if you have a question, please make sure to use the tip and donations link running across the ticker down below me. If you can't see the link, the tip and donations link is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, if you're unable to see the link, it's streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. This just makes sure I'm able to see your question. It pops up there at the top of the list, and I can engage with any of you guys that may have a question. So if you do have one, please use the link. It's a big help for the show, not only this show, but all the other shows, the network as well. And it would be greatly appreciated if you guys were able to do that with any question that you may have. But that being said, we can jump into the first segment, the chip shot story of the day. One that has kind of made its way around the news media world a little bit. Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, jumped on his star pass rushers podcast, Max Crosby's podcast, in recent time, a few days ago, if my memory serves me right. He had some interesting quotes. It was a good conversation. I watched the show. Big fan of Antonio Pierce and what he's done there in Las Vegas. And I watched it, and the main thing that a lot of people are running with, tuning into, was the comments that he made regarding Patrick Mahomes and applying a sort of Jordan-style rules that the bad boy Pistons applied to Michael Jordan in his career. Just being overly aggressive with him. Anytime he went to the hoop, there was always some sort of contact after the whistle, before the whistle, and not even letting him get off in his jump to go to the basket. Very aggressive style of play. Back then, obviously, that kind of stuff, you don't see it now, really in any sport, to go beyond the rules and the whistle. And Antonio Pierce made it a point to try and play that sort of style with Patrick Mahomes. And he almost, if you remember to that game on Christmas, he almost kind of gave you a blueprint to what he was talking about in that game. Obviously, the Raiders won that game. It was a shocking defeat for the Chiefs because I'm pretty sure it was in Kansas City. And the thing that stood out to me the most was the defense. Las Vegas Raiders got to Patrick Mahomes, got in his face, really collapsed the pocket pretty well that game, and forced not only Patrick Mahomes to, be off timing with his receivers and tight ends and stuff like that. He threw a pick six, I think, to start the second half. They got to him a lot. They sacked him a bunch, and he just looked very beat up after that game. The Raiders won it, and that was a huge win for Antonio Pierce and the Raiders. And, he kind of wants to build off of that. His exact quote was, or part of it, I should say, was, anytime he came to the hole, elbows, feeling him, love taps, were in his head mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. That was just a little snippet of the quote Antonio Pierce said on Max Crosby's podcast, and, it got a lot of people talking, and I thought it was pretty interesting how some people reacted to it. I don't think anybody took it too seriously for now. I think once the season starts and the Raiders do play the Chiefs, I think that'll be the talking point a lot. Yeah, we're going to probably see some chippiness, some extracurriculars in that game, and it'll only make the game more entertaining for people like us, the fans watching. And I just think it'll add a little bit of extra flavor, a little extra spice to that game, because once you go into that game, the Chiefs are only going to get better, and once you see that game scheduled, a lot of people already have in their minds that the Chiefs could run away with that game. They're favored in probably all their division games, and I just think that adds a little bit more dimension to this game, another dimension that we don't see often. Me being a Steelers fan, you can see it in some games when the Steelers play the Ravens, but in other games, you don't really see it too much. You do see it in Cowboys games when they play the Eagles, the Giants, really anybody in that division. You can throw the Commanders in there sometimes, but other divisions, you don't really see that sort of chippiness, that nastiness that you can get with these games, and that just makes them a bit more interesting, a bit more entertaining for us. Now, will it make it more entertaining? Absolutely, I think so. Will it have any effect on trying to intimidate Patrick Mahomes? Maybe not. He's, I don't have to come on here and say how good he is. I'm sure everybody knows by now what kind of talent he has, but, it's, in a way, it's a way to try to take him out of his zone, annoy him, bother him. He's gotten into it with Max Crosby before in the past. After a little bit extra aggressiveness that Max Crosby showed after a play, Patrick Mahomes didn't like it, and it actually lit a fire under him. He played better, and they won that game pretty comfortably, if I'm not wrong. But I think the latest time it worked out for the Raiders. And to say it'll intimidate Patrick Mahomes, I don't think it'll do that, but it'll definitely add that extra sense, that extra dimension that I was talking about, and making these games more entertaining. And it's just another thing that Antonio Pierce, I think, has brought to the Raiders, just overall as a character, as a persona. He's trying to build that villain persona, though, that nasty Raiders attitude that he saw when he was younger. And obviously now it's lost its way since then. But he's trying to kind of bring that back, re-establish a culture, the attitude that he wants his team to play with. And this is the first step, and I'm a fan of it. And on top of that, I think the only thing that could make this pretty negative would be if, the league gets involved somehow, and, I'm sure they're going to be paying extra attention to these games now because of the comments made by Antonio Pierce. But I hope they don't, take it too far and be extra trigger happy with the flags. They should just, let them play, let them have an extra shove or two in there, some trash talking. To that level, I think it would be good for the game. It would be very entertaining. But, if it goes past that, yeah, fine, throw the flag. But, people want to see this extra stuff, this personality shown by their players that they always invest so much time in and come and see. And I think it just adds so much to the games as a whole. Another thing that I thought that I took away from this quote was that this could potentially be a sign that Antonio Pierce is focusing in more on, defense, trying to establish that defense and be more of a defensive identity-based team, because offensively, they have their stars. Josh Jacobs, he's a free agent, but I expect him to stay there. Devontae Adams, star wide receiver. They're missing a quarterback, obviously, but with these sort of comments, I think he's really trying to embrace the defensive side of the ball, that ugly, tough defense that they could really establish there. And, if he's saying this sort of stuff now, it kind of makes me think maybe they target this in the draft. He's going to try and go after some big-name defensive players to not only come there, but to really invest a lot of time in these guys and show them what he's building, the kind of culture that he's building, and get them to buy in and really be an invested member of the Raiders community. And these sort of comments just makes me think he's trying to identify his team with more of a defensive nastiness going into next season. And, they had some interest for the defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham. He's likely to return to the Raiders, but he had some other offers out there for other coaching positions and stuff like that. But it's a positive that he gets to stay around, just to build off of the point I'm making, that they get another year with Patrick Graham. Now Antonio Pierce is running things. He is in charge of most of this stuff, and these guys can really form that bond on the defensive side that I think will only help this team overall, because offensively, like I mentioned, they're missing a quarterback, a real sort of leader on that side of the ball to drive the offense. But if you rely on the defense and have a really good established defense that could carry you or keep you in games for most of the season, most of the time during a game, it'll make your offense kind of loosen up a little bit. They won't be so tight going out there thinking, oh, we have to score points this drive or else we're going to lose. If you have a good defense, it'll definitely make it a lot easier for your offense, at least make them a bit more relaxed to go out there and just play fine. And I assume they'll be in close games this season. I expect them to be in a lot of close games. They'll win a good amount, and they'll definitely probably lose more than not. But I do love what Antonio Pierce is building. I love the quote. I thought it was awesome that he says that. He's never shy about saying anything that he's feeling, and I think he's going to be good for the Raiders moving forward. Trying to attack Patrick Mahomes and defend Patrick Mahomes to the best that he can. But speaking on Patrick Mahomes, another quarterback that's been in the news a lot recently, it's Kenny Pickett. What his situation looks like with the Steelers, and how long will he be in Pittsburgh? Terry Bradshaw came to his defense recently on the Rich Eisen show. I have more on that story that we can dive into. I'm going to send it to a quick break right now, but like I mentioned, that story will be up next, and I'll go into that more of what Terry Bradshaw said and what he thought on the Justin Fields rumors as well. So don't go anywhere. I'll bring you that story right after this break.